They've got trips to Wigan, Leeds, Warrington, Saints, York even in there too. Where's the next win going to come from? It's a club dying in front of our very eyes, isn't it? Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the latest episode here from the All Out Studio Back 10. I'm your host Kyle Amor, and this week I'm joined by All Out Rugby League journalist Josh McAllister and a former Man of Steel, Grand Final winner, Challenge Cup Final winner, World Club Challenge winner. There's pretty much nothing that he hasn't done in the game, Zak Hardaker. Zak, welcome along.
No, thank you for having me, mate. It's been a long time I've done a podcast, but yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, we'll get stuck into everything that's gone on in the world of rugby league. Of course, some big stories that have come out over the last 7 days. Before we start, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed. We have hit the 10,000 subscriber mark, so big thank you to everybody who has subscribed. For those of you that haven't, you might just be missing out, so don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything across the world of rugby league here at Back 10. Also, if you're watching on a mobile phone or a tablet, remember in the comment section to swipe left. It will reveal that hype button. You can hit that up to 3 times a week again, so we can keep on growing our audiences and our shows too. But for now, as always, let's get into the show. So, there's only one place really to start, isn't there? Zak, how's the body after yesterday's massive win, I'm going to call it?
Yeah, it was a huge win. The body's all right. It's not too bad. Still adapting to the fullback life. Having trained predominantly probably at centre. So, yeah, the legs are a little bit sore, but I think that's nullified by, the massive win that we got.
And you mentioned there going back to fullback. What's been, there's been lots of talk about the new rule changes. What have you noticed dropping back into fullback than perhaps what you'd noticed maybe a few years ago when you were playing there also?
Well, the ruck speed for one, and probably trying to nullify a team in their 20. It's probably just going to get a roll on, and you're going to probably catch the ball in your own 10 quite a lot of the times. Where years gone by, 10 years ago when I was playing fullback, you get a good kick away, you tackle a team in their 10, and you're probably catching it on your 20, 30, and then you're straight into a good ball near enough. But yeah, it's a lot quicker, a lot of fast paced, and you're catching the ball in your, say 5-10 metres, and it's a good tough yard to carry after that.
Well, look, Zak, you're 34 years old now, mate, and sorry to remind you about that, but
right.
How demanding is it on the body playing a position that requires a lot of high speed, that requires a lot of distance in travelling?
It's at the time it's all right. It's the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's when the body starts creaking. It's probably the offloading that you have to do a little bit more at 34. I'm not spring chicken anymore, so I have to have a look at myself, and the recovery's a lot different. The process is probably missing a field session or two in a week, just getting right, mate. And mentally, I'm pretty good, but yeah, the knees and the hips and the joints I can feel it, but. Yeah, I've still got a few years in me yet, which is pretty good.
And touching on that win, Josh, yesterday, Zak's mentioned there about having the odd field session away, but there's not many troops left, is there, for John Cartwright to have on the field? Of course, he lost Yusuf Aiden and Aiden Caesar before that game, so it just shows you how big of a win it was.
Yeah, well, FC have been doing it tough, like a couple of Super League clubs this year, and Aiden Caesar, I think, 6 weeks with a pec injury suffered in training. So you're doing it tough at the minute, aren't you? And the biggest thing I noticed was you celebrated every little win, every knock-on, every forced mistake. You celebrated it. Was that something that you all discussed going into that game? Yeah,
we've obviously you look at everything with a fine-tooth comb when you're losing. What have you had for breakfast? What did you do wrong or right in the week? And the last few weeks we've not been celebrating the little wins. I think there was a clip that John put on, I think it was Andy Last, that we'd gone through a bit of a tough period in the game. We defended his line back-to-back sets, and I think what his left edge had caused them to chuck ball into touch, and all you could see was body language were, thank God for that. And there were no celebrations. It was just, right, Christ, thank God for that. They hadn't scored. What can we do next? Where, going back to last year, everyone were trying their hearts out. Everyone were backing each other up, and we were celebrating the little wins, which we've probably gone away from. So yeah, yesterday were a big factor of, let's celebrate everything. If someone causes a knock on, let's celebrate it. And yeah, I think the fans got behind that as well, which really, really helped us in the game.
Zach, why does just for the guys listening and tuning in, we're 4 or 5 weeks into the season. Why wouldn't that be there at the start of the season then? What's that down to? Yeah,
so I think we had a tough game against Bradford, and then followed up with a big loss against Wigan, and then we had a tough game against York, which was narrowly missed. And then I don't know if it's from the outside noise in that we've probably let it creep in that we should be a team that should be winning those games. We should be putting 30 points on teams. So I think we've let that creep in, and that's our own fault as a club. There's high expectations before the season started of what was needed from us, from the top of the club to the fans, and then just us as players. What do we want from this year? And I think we just probably got stuck in it where a bit disappointed in ourselves, and defending back-to-back sets. We're tired, feeling sorry for ourselves. So the moments where you actually do celebrate, I think instead of celebrating, it were a bit of, God, thank God for that. So they're the bits where you just have to change. They're only subtle. But going into Leeds game, we said, look, we need to do something a bit different. We need to celebrate, and that's what we did. And I think just for his self-confidence and his self-belief in the team and the lads that we've got playing at that time, it really did benefit us. And yeah, just a little subtle thing like that, just celebrating, I think it made a massive help for us to win that game yesterday.
And Jake Arthur's best game, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah, Jake Arthur's best game.
John Asiata as well.
John Asiata's best game. I think Liggy Sow's, I think that's one of his best games he's played for Hull for a number of years, being out as well for the whole of last year. Belly on the edge there. I think everyone stepped up and played their part yesterday, which we needed to against a team that's athletically good like Leeds at the minute. They're flying from the Vegas trip, and it were a massive game for the club, massive game for the players, and hopefully we can go on now for the rest of the year and use that as a stepping stone.
And talking about that external noise, you've played for some big clubs and had success along the way as well. How different is it in the city of Hull? We know they're very, very passionate, but how different is that to allow or sort of filter out that noise? How difficult of a challenge is it?
It's tough, but it's something that we've grown ourselves. So I went there last year from the previous year of getting the wooden spoon, and it was looking kind of dim. Last year, Carty brought the ethos of work hard, more than anything else. Just work hard for the club, for each other, and we'll see where we can go. And we had a successful year. Just missed the playoffs by a point, and all the fans, could feel them coming back in, and they could see a sense of belonging, playing for the badge, showing the fans what it means to play for Hull again. I think that's the most important. And the signings that we brought in this year, I think it showed an ambition of the club where we're at and where we want to go to and strive to. So I think there's a buzz. I think they sold 9,000 tickets for the season members, which is absolutely fantastic. And we just want to repay the fans, belief, and I want to compete at every game I've got. So home and away, I want to win. And like I say, it's not started the best of ways, but I think yesterday just typified what we've got in his arsenal, the belief that the fans get behind us. And yeah, we're not quite sure what's going to happen this year, but if the fans stick with us, we'll give 110% on the pitch, which they saw yesterday, and we got a really good win against Leeds.
You mentioned there what John Cartwright's brought to the club. Now, there's no hiding that he and the club and the players have been under a little bit of pressure already, only 4 or 5 weeks into the season. How has that been, sort of trying to cancel out that outside noise a little bit? And I suppose now the inner belief is that the win over Leeds could really be a turning point.
Yeah, I think we were guilty of probably riding that wave of belief that we came 7th. We've got these players that we've brought in from Championship team like St Helens, Jake Arthur from the NRL, and then on paper, if you look at the squad, we're really strong. And We spoke about it off air just before we came on, but the new rules came in and it changed a bit of a dynamic of where a season we're probably going to head. We trained a certain way for probably about 3 months of last year's rules, really, in the years before that, and then this fast-paced game that has probably been shown to us the first week of January. It's probably took a dint in us as preparations and where we thought we were going to be, and everyone's getting used to it. Every club's the exact same. There's loads of injuries, so there's I'm not saying it's just Hull, but the ambitions of the club is definitely playoffs still. It's that's what that club deserves. But yeah, I think we're a bit guilty of saying, right, we finished here, we've got these players in, automatically we're probably top 4. It doesn't work like that in that industry, as Carl will know. But so it's just about setting the standards back to where they should be, and it's first and foremost work hard, just work hard, give 110%, work hard for the badge and for the city, and after that, see where we should go after that. But I think yesterday really did set a bit of a grounding for us, and hopefully we can kick on from there now.
We'll kick on. I mean, you've got Catalan Dragons next, who had a great win at the weekend there, and then it's the derby. Now, I know you're probably going to tell me we can't look too many games ahead, and it's one game at a time. But very quickly, if you can build off this performance and maybe get 1 or 2 bodies back, and you've got a real opportunity to almost flip the season on its head. In 2 weeks' time, you could be sat with 6 points, and away you go. Hull FC, there'll be people will start talking about them again as playoff contenders, because right now they've kind of fell away from that, right? But the season's a long old season, Zach, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the famous quote of the roller coaster, and every rugby league player talks about it, but it actually is. So I could have been sat here today getting beat by Leeds, and you could have been asking me questions. I'm like, it's a long old year, mate. I don't know what's going to come around the corner, but I'm sat here today. I'm probably more battered and bruised than I actually am, but because we've won, I'm happy. Yeah. I'm buzzing. Like you've just mentioned, I watched the Catalan game. They played absolutely brilliant. Unfortunately, I think they've got another 4 injuries, which for Hull FC people, it's pretty good. For them, it's not so good. And like you say, if we get the win against Catalans, that's 4 points. The better off. The mood in camp swings. The place is buzzing around Hull. We go to a Hull KR derby, which is massive. But that gives us confidence then. And like you say, the coaster was here. We beat Leeds, we beat Catalan, and then if we was to beat KR, people might say we might win the grand final. That's the ups and downs of rugby league, and that's where we're at. So we've just got to enjoy the moment at the minute. Like I say, we've had a real good win, and we've got to have an enjoyable week now and try and get that performance again for Catalan on Sunday.
Well, I'll just pick you up on that, about Hull FC maybe winning the grand final. Zach, you've got experience of winning it from 5th.
Yeah.
Is that something that you can cling on to?
I think so, and I think I know people say about Hull FC's older players, an older squad, but when it comes down to the nitty-gritty games, you need your older heads. We've got a few. You've got a few of the Saints boys, Batch, Belly, who's been at Saints, who's done it the similar ways. Myself, Seas, John. So Tom Briscoe, who I thought had an outstanding game yesterday as well. So
proven winners, right?
Proven winners. Yeah, we've been there, done that. So I think, like I say, we're getting bodies back. Batch is back in a few weeks. Seas a good couple of weeks. Herman's halfway through the year. So when we get the bodies back, it'll be a different kettle of fish, but at the minute we're where we're at. We're just going to have to work hard, and hopefully we get the 2 points. So we'll see where we go.
Well, Josh, I won't ask you if Hull FC will win a grand final, but there was whispers, rumours, if you like, circulating yesterday around that had Hull FC lost, then John Cartwright might have left the club. That's what we were hearing. Did you pick up on anything at all through the week?
I heard a few whispers during the week, but nothing concrete. Look, there was no hiding that there was pressure on him as a head coach and Hull FC. You've gone into the season. I don't know how much players read into predictions, but you've gone into the season on the back of last year and how much you built, and everyone was predicting a top 6, and then it's a slower start, as you say. The rule changes maybe didn't help you out as such. So there was just a lot of pressure, and they are rugby league mad in Hull, so that pressure can intensify. with the two clubs there. So I think there was just a lot of pressure on them. But this could be a turning point now for Leslie. And as you say, build that momentum and make your way up the table. As you say, there's a long way to go. Only 5 weeks into it. Rugby league is a glorious game, isn't it? And there's a long way to go.
Well, Zach referred to it as the roller coaster that is rugby league. Right. Well, we'll finish on that, and we'll move on to another huge talking point. You know, we talked about there about John Cartwright, the whispers around. Well, there was no whispers for Luke Robinson, was there? You know, he was the first coach of 2026 to get the axe, if you like. Fair or unfair?
Unfair for me. We talked about it last week. He's just had a really tough task, hasn't he? I think it's 47 games he's been in charge of, and he has only won 13. So, his winning run's not great. But he has not had a chance to have a full fit, available squad. And I think at Huddersfield, the problems lie above the head coach. I think you've got to look further into it. You've got to look at recruitment. You've got to look at the attendances, the crowds, the support, the club as a whole. I think the last time they had 10,000 in that stadium was back in 2012. The average attendance last year was 4,000. When they won the League Leaders Shield in 2013, it was 6,500. So it's a club that's just it's not on the rise like other clubs, unfortunately. So I think you've got to look above the head coach. And for me now, it's not an attractive job for the next head coach to come into. You've got 15 players out injured. It's a big ask for whoever's going to come in. I don't know how you're going to attract that. Now I know Ralph Rimmer's come out, the Director of Change, I think his title is.
What is the Director of Change?
It's a new one, that, isn't it? And he said that they're aiming to build a new stadium by 2030. They're building new first-class training facilities, which will hopefully attract players and a coach. But it's all talk at the minute, isn't it? It's just a big ask, and I don't know what head coach. There will be head coaches out there. There'll be assistant coaches out there that want a head coaching role, but it's a big ask, isn't it? With 15 players out, and I just think it's unfair on Luke Robinson. He never got a fair crack.
Well, you know, we described it last week as a soulless place. Zach, I'll go as far as saying that, you know, in my time of playing Super League, it's probably my least favourite place to play a game because of how empty the stadium was, and you had to manufacture your own atmosphere. And people talk, you know, lads used to talk about going to Wakefield before the redevelopment of Cass. I know Cass had made some upgrades, but you know, still uncomfortable, hostile grounds. But at least there was a heartbeat there, wasn't there? You know, it's a difficult place to play at Huddersfield, isn't it?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get a few Leeds versus Huddersfield games, which were back in the day when Huddersfield were quite good. And you got a kind of an atmosphere, but I think that was more generated from the Leeds fans than the actual Huddersfield. And the only thing about Huddersfield, when you go, you know, you got a good surface, so that's a guarantee when you go there. It's good grass. But I saw a stat when it was, I think it played KR in the Challenge Cup, and there were 2,500 fans there, and 2,000 were KR. And yeah, it's just like you say, there's excitement around York, Bradford, Toulouse, London with the new rebrand and stuff. Huddersfield, it seems just to be a bit dead.
It is a club. It's a club dying in front of our very eyes, isn't it? Do you know? And it's a shame, isn't it? The birthplace of rugby league for those who who like that part about them. But you know, Zach mentioned the grass. Like, this is where we're at. That if that's what we're talking about as a Super League club, that the grass is the best part about them, then we're struggling, aren't we? Do you know? And I don't know what needs to happen. I agree with you. I don't think it's Luke Robinson's fault. The game demands results. It's a results-based industry. He hasn't been able to get them. And you look at their first 5 fixtures as well, Josh. I remember calling the game for Catalan Huddersfield. Catalan did a number on them in the wet. They then went to Wakefield and they then had Wakefield at home and a narrow defeat there. Then they got walloped by Castleford. They've then been walloped in the cup, and then now they would have looked at them games, because you do, Jack, don't you? Before a ball's kicked, you look at the fixture list and you go, right, well, we'll pick wins off here, especially if you're in one of them bottom half clubs. We'll pick off wins here and here. Everyone who was in and around that area of the table, they've been beaten by. And you look at what's coming up. They've got trips to Wigan, Leeds, Warrington, Saints, York even in there too. Where's the next win going to come from?
That's the big question, isn't it? And we talk about the crowds. Look, crowds come because they want to see their teams win. I don't think Huddersfield have made the playoffs. I think they've made it once in 10 years. So obviously, you know, as a supporter, you want to see your team succeed. But it works both ways, and it's just, as you say, it's don't want to say struggling club because, is it harsh to say struggling club? Because probably not. They are on the decline. And you mentioned there the likes of York, Toulouse, Bradford. And we were talking about the quality that they could bring in when really we should have been talking about maybe the quality that we've already got.
Is that part of the problem though, the recruitment that they've done over the last few years? They have, Zach, you mentioned about older players at Hull FC. They've recruited some older players at Huddersfield, but they haven't been able to get them out on a field.
Yeah, and I think that's the similar scenario for Catalans over the years when they've gone massive money for big NRL players, and they've not quite worked out there as well. But I think obviously Catalan have got a bit of a different project. But yeah, Huddersfield have gone out and tried to buy the big names, the big players, maybe for the distraction part of it more than the playing side. But yeah, it's not quite worked out. And I know that Ken Davies seems don't know him personally, but it seems a lovely bloke. He was really passionate about Huddersfield itself, and I just don't know where they really go from there. It's a tough gig.
We said that last week, didn't we? We said that we felt sorry for Ken Davies. Danny Maguire was in and said if he was here, he'd shake his hand because he's so passionate. He's put so much money into it, but he's not getting a right lot out of it at the minute. And you say with the recruitment, you've got to look at the recruitment cycle. The next few years is huge for them. And we said last week that there's a big discussion around IMG. There's London Broncos on the rise. They're an ambitious club. They can attract the players, but they've got to balance it right as well. It's just a lot of questions around Huddersfield.
But last one on Huddersfield, if they were to fall out of Super League and be replaced by a London, do you ever see a road back for them? Because once you drop out, given the fan base, given that they've tried, Ken Davies thrown millions at this, hasn't he? It's a similar story to Dave Hughes down in London, throwing millions at it and just not getting anywhere. It's almost like he's pissing into the wind, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And it's difficult for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounds like it's a long-term project there now. So there's talk of Halifax, of them moving there, and Ken Davies. I mean, we said it last week. He knows the importance of moving away from that stadium. It's too big for them. There's talk of Dewsbury by 2030. They want their own stadium, but that's all a long-term project. We've also got to look at the now, haven't you? There's a big question mark over the now, and this season ahead and next season with IMG. So yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it, on Huddersfield? As you say, it's the birthplace of rugby league, but I don't know, how far can that take you?
Yeah. Well, look, Luke Robinson, obviously now without a job. There is a job vacancy that is up for grabs, the England head coach job. Now, I'm not suggesting Luke's going to jump out of that and go straight into that. But, Josh, what's the latest on that? We're 7 months away, and we still have no idea who's going to be the head coach of England for the World Cup. Crazy.
Yeah, we briefly mentioned it on the prediction show last week, didn't we? So I'm glad we've got into it more. The last I heard is yet to conduct any interviews. Now, we all know who the front runner is, and that's Willie Peters. He's openly said he wants the job. I think Brad Arthur said he wants the job. Sam Burgess is in the mix as well, but I don't think he's discussed it too much because he's focused on his sort of Warrington project at the minute. And again, we mentioned last week how they're nicely going under the radar. So yeah, no official interviews as yet, but Willie Peters seems to be the front runner to be the one to land it. Was a part of Australia's coaching staff last year for the Ashes, and anyone that you spoke to that was involved with that really credited him in their 3-0 series whitewash. But Zach, as a player, you've played internationally, you've got the caps. You want to know your head coaches, don't you, going into a World Cup? I mean, we're 6-7 months away.
I'd like to have thought so, yeah. Again, coming into like the biggest, what's meant to be the pinnacle of rugby league, World Cup, over in Australia as well, which takes a lot of planning behind closed doors as well, as we probably all know. Yeah, it's a weird one because for me, I like Willie Peters. Obviously, it's not to like him, but he's done amazing for KR. For me personally, I'd love to go with an English coach. We've had discussion as players. I like Paul Rowley or Darryl Powell because I think we've tried to play Australia, New Zealand in a New Zealand-Australia way. Run hard, tackle in corner, tackle them as hard as we can. We just can't keep up. It's been shown now for 3 years. So for me personally, I'd go with an English coach who likes to throw the ball about. I think that's the way an English team would beat an Australia if we were to beat them, or a New Zealand team, a Samoa team, a Tonga who look like they're getting stronger every year. Obviously, there's ways and cycles to go through. Right, kick into a corner, let's get into an arm wrestle for say 10-15 minutes. But then I like the style of Darryl Powell, I like the style of Paul Rowley, where they play from the back. They're not afraid to do that. But then if I'm thinking of those coaches, then they probably need to get told now to have a couple of training sessions of this is how we want to play. But
they're not even going to get a training session. There's nowhere in the calendar
for
a squad. Like I'm half laughing saying what I'm saying, because how can you go to a World Cup, the pinnacle of any player, coach's career, and not even be able to get a field session into them. You know, like they're probably going to have a meeting where they'll get together and they'll chat over a video and have a bite to eat, won't they? But that's crazy, isn't it?
Sean Wayne almost had the impossible task last year, didn't he? And you know, we've had debates over if it was right or wrong with his sacking, but he had the impossible task last year. They had no on-field training sessions, no mid-season test, and then they went straight into an Ashes and they had a week together in camp going into it. Now, just to play devil's advocate a little bit, you mentioned the Dow Pound, the poor Rolly. Give us an insight into the camp. How much, you've only got a week together or maybe 2 weeks before you play your game. How much coaching can you actually put into that? Or is it more about building the culture, building what the beliefs?
There's no coaching. I can remember being with Wayne and he'd show some inspirational videos. And then he'd show some videos of, say, I'll just use myself as an example. I'll say I'm playing centre, he'll show up a clip and say, right, Zach, you're playing centre here. I don't want you doing that for England. It might be coming at third man, I might be elbowing someone up floor, or it might be something, or give a penalty away. I don't want that. Kyle, why are you running? You're running at A, but you're not running to B. You're not squaring up. I don't want that. So he'll just give you little things like that. But then when you play for a club that your coach is asking to do the opposite, it's a tough one. I can remember him getting a video up and he was saying to Harry Newman that he didn't want Harry Newman to do X, Y, and Z, but at Leeds, that's what he did at Leeds, do you know what I mean? So there was a bit of a crosswire there. But you can't do any coaching. It's impossible. And like Kyle said, it's nearly laughable when you speak about it. Australia play against each other. They got the Origin, they got the camps halfway through. They've been playing, the same team's probably been, you know, Australia don't change the team that much nowadays, do they? So they know what to do and what not to do. And we've got no coach, no training, and it's going to be go over to Australia and do your best, which is a tough ask for anyone.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there about limited coaching that you can give players. I suppose you've got the best players, or you should have the best players in the best form at the right time. So how important is it then to not necessarily, I mean, we see it, don't we, a lot in other sports where international coaches probably haven't had the most successful managerial careers, but yet they're known for the man management. How important is that when you're going to go on to Australia for 6 weeks to get a guy that not necessarily is the best coach, but he can galvanise you all together and make you feel like you're having fun?
Yeah, so the GB tour, for example, Wayne Bennett, first time I met him was when I got on plane to Australia. So he'd never coached us or anything, but he was a bloke that had utmost respect for straight away. He was one of the greats. And he was a great bloke. He'd sit back at coach if you have a laugh, so you had that about him, but then he'd be straight down the line like, you're not playing for me. Sometimes I know you've heard the stories of mixing up players, and he thought Paul Wellens were a player and not coaching staff. So it's madness, but it was someone who you want to play for. So I think in that regard, you pick an England team that you think, right, he gives 110%, he gets stuck in, he's an England player, blah, blah, blah. And then how can I gel them players together, right? These are my forwards. So you can probably strategically like plan a team of people who just work hard and off work ethic. And then you've got, you know, your Mikey Lewis's, your Jake Connors who, you know, 40-20 or 20-40. Mikey Lewis might dummy and go himself. So you need those players as well to create sparks and stuff like that. So you can probably generate it from that point of view. And I reckon, well, that's what they're obviously going to try and do. So like I say about the coach, I'd like to think they get picked sooner rather than later, so they can start having those conversations with players going into one of the biggest rugby league calendars of the year.
Yes, it's certainly a must, isn't it? And I suppose we'll wait and see how that unfolds, or when it unfolds, I suppose. But you mentioned about Australia, the NR, the Origin, the players being able, you know, the Pacific nations are now getting stronger and therefore enhancing not only the international game but the NRL as well. There's been there was an article released last week, Zach, I don't know if you were aware of it or not, of a £250 million investment coming in from the NRL over a 5-year period. Now, we've since been told that it's not actually factually true. However, there's too many noises coming around, isn't there? There certainly will be a bid put forward. Matt Ellis did a podcast the other week, the Wakefield owner, and he spoke about how he'd welcome it, but he needs to see the detail of what it looks like for each and every club. First of all, Zach, is it something the players are aware that there is an investment coming into the game, or do you guys just switch off from that?
I think, so obviously I'm one of the older ones, so there's I can't share with Aidan Caesar, Tom Briscoe and Sam Lasoni. Sam Lasoni's half asleep most of the time, so he's not in the conversation. But us three have a good conversation about whatever's going on in the world, and I brought it up to them after speaking to you guys about the 250 million. We kind of tossed and threw it about what could that mean, and we're getting the latter ages of our careers now, so if it does come in, I think everybody just wants to see a deal be struck, and then how does that look like on paper going forward? Does it mean players get more money, which is always great? Is there more teams going to come in? Is there less teams going to come in? Is it going to be? I think I've seen it down a rabbit hole about clubs in the Championship. Are they going to be the feeder teams for Super League teams and all that? And there's loads of ways of things going about it. But I do think if it's going to be this year, it's going to be a crunch year of now or never. If the NRL don't get involved in some occupation, rugby league is just going to be the same now, and we're going to have the same conversation in probably 25 years. I think something needs to be done soon. It needs to be written down, come in, structurally told to the people like, say, Matt Ellis, the owners, and then that needs to get filtered down pretty quick to the players. And it's exciting if that's the case, but like you say, it's just whispers at the minute.
Yeah, Josh, Peter Volandis described it as if they don't take this investment, then Super League's heading for a car crash. But again, Matt Ellis was quick to back that away. Crowd figures in certainly at Wakefield are up, attendances are up across the board, viewing figures are up according to Matt Ellis as well. So not quite telling the full picture, is it? And I think that's the thing that owners like Matt Ellis and that, again, I'll use Derek Beaumont. Derek Beaumont has thrown a lot of his own money at a club that he's backed all the way. So, before they were a well-established Super League club, why would they give up their voice after doing all of that why would they lose or relinquish any control in what happens in the game?
Yeah, so Peter Vlandis is, there's no doubt in how he's good at what he does. We've seen the NRL, the growth they've had, the profits they make, their growth. But he's also very good at playing the media, isn't he? So he put out there that there's going to be a 3-month deadline and that's it. Super League needs to reply before then. Now, I don't think that's official from what I'm hearing. That's just him playing the media. This 250 million that's been put out there again. That looks like maybe you're just playing the media a little bit. But it is interesting that you mentioned the salaries, because at the minute we are losing more and more Super League players to the NRL. So one question on this, if the investment comes in, is we need to maybe increase that salary cap. So we've had Sam Burgess come out and say we need to increase the salary cap. We've had Matt Peake come out and say it. Chris Walensky, the Wigan Warriors CEO, he's been an advocate of increasing salary cap. If we don't, we're just going to lose more and more players. I mean, Michalewski became the latest, Harry Newman, James McDonnell. That's the worry, is it? The worry is we're going to lose more and more of these Super League stars to the NRL if we don't do something about our salaries.
Especially when they're expanding as well. You've got the Perth, you've got the Papua New Guinea project there. And I don't think they've got a great pool of players to pick from, so they're going to pick our best players, and then our competition gets a little bit weaker from the outset looking in. And it's mad because, like you say, the Matt Ellises, the Derek Beaumonts, I think they'd be still willing to pump the money in. The salary cap, I think, should go up. Then I think there should be a minimum wage for a certain amount of players. It's
a great point Zak makes. It was just something I was going to pick up on Zak as well. Josh Hodgson, of course, former OKR, Canberra Raider, Parramatta Eel, whatever you want to call him. I seen a comment he picked up on Matt Peake about increasing the salary cap, but his argument was, well, why don't we have a minimum wage first? Let's get more and more kids locked in at this is actually a career that you want to get a part of, because there's too many of these young kids who have the opportunity to become first team players, but financially, Zak, and there's players I've played with who were playing in grand finals who were on 20 grand a year. Now, 20 grand a year is not, it's not what you would marry up to a professional Super League player, is it? Let alone one in a grand final. So for me, I think the minimum wage threshold needs to be risen first. Did you agree, or
No, I definitely agree. Definitely agree. I know kids. I know some players that older they'll not be on that a lot of money, and sometimes they're coming up from academy and training up with us full time, and they're on. I could dread to say how much, 6-7 grand. I don't know. I can remember. I think. One of the Leeds players played in the grand final. I think he was on 9 grand at the time.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I think it was Jack Walker. I think that it doesn't increase, but then definitely there needs to be a base limit set. There isn't the NRL. Like I say, it's something for the kids to get excited. Then it's like, right, oh God, I'm on this amount of money, and then they're safe, they're secure, they can relax a little bit and focus a bit more about the rugby. Yeah. Whereas you've not a lot of money and you're trying to compete at rugby, but then you haven't got enough money to, I don't know, go for a coffee with the boys after training, or petrol wise, which is going through the roof at the minute. But yeah, I definitely think it needs to be increased, and then a baseline sorted as well.
Just on the side note, just while we're talking about it, because there's a lot of talk of, some clubs might need more convincing than others. Some clubs want the NRL deal, some don't. And then there's the talk of, well, what if we just go NRL Europe and then we do the 10 teams? The problem with that, I think, as I understand it, would be the visas. I think you have to be a recognised sporting government to get the visas. So if Super League went on its own and not with the RFL, you wouldn't be able to get your visas for your overseas players. So that would be the problem with if you just went for a 10-team or a 12-team or whatever, Super League, NRL Europe, Super League Europe or whatever. That would be the problem there. So there's a lot to go at it, and as you say, we need more details at the minute. But it's developing. Something's going to come eventually. We just need these details. And as club owners, club owners haven't been quiet about it, and they're not shied away from it. They need to know the details before agreeing anything, because they've put their money in. But there's also an argument that you need a sort of independence to govern the sport as well. That's a debate maybe for another day that probably is needed maybe in our sport as well.
And all of this happening coincides with the end of the current TV deal as well, isn't there? So there's absolutely loads at stake here. I mean, Zach, just what would your hopes be? If the NRL was to come in, what would your actual hopes be, and why would it be important for players? You mentioned salaries there, right? But as a rugby league fan, what do you hope for the game with the NRL coming in?
For the future, I want our game to be respected. Really, I want it to be shown on TV. I watched a little clip about Danny Maguire saying about he worries about the Challenge Cup. I can remember there's no noise about Challenge Cup, none whatsoever this year. I watched Cass and Warrington on BBC Two. I didn't realise it was on BBC Two until I was flicking through the telly. There's no noise about rugby league whatsoever. So the future is, I want money for the players. I want them to be secure. I want, and this is another debate for another day maybe, but do we go to 10 teams and then just have real solid 10 teams? Do we have championship clubs that are feeder clubs? So it's a bit of a link between the two. So yeah, you're asking me what do I want? I just want, I want a solid Super League. I don't know if I want, but maybe go less teams, better quality players, the clubs that can get the fans in. You want to turn up on a Friday night at Edinburgh. You want to go to Wigan. You want to go to York when it's full. You want to go to Bradford when that's coming back. You want to go to the stadiums where it creates noise and you get excited about. So yeah, I just want it to be. To players to enjoy themselves, just to be have something to fall back on with the money wise, structure wise, and just us knowing what's going on. We have no saying the rules. We have no saying on the fixtures. I want a bit of player power. I think we've tried over the years of getting like an RPL system going. I think we definitely need that in the next 2 to 3 years, because. So for last year, for instance, we had a bye week, which I can't remember the last time I had one of them in my careers. It were fantastic, just for mentally, physically. You got told in the year, right, these teams are going to be playing on this week, so everyone had a week off, and you got away with your families or your friends or whatever, and it was fantastic. And then this year they bring 2 new teams up, and you play every weekend now. So apart from Challenge Cup, so. And then there's a World Cup at the end of it, so it's a long, long year for some players. So, yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest topics. I think we need a bit of a player union.
He does make a good point about a player union. It's something that we've tried for a long, long time, and we've already. We won't go over it again, but the number of injuries they've had, the rule changes, the increase in clubs. The players all the while, they're the foot soldiers, right? They're the ones who are just getting on with it and getting on the front line and playing the game. But yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot to unpick and unpack, isn't there? Yeah. And I think having some sort of if the NRL were to come in, there's certainly more and more there's more and more questions rather than answers, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. The biggest one, as you say at the start of it, was the broadcast deal as well. The Sky Sports broadcast deal is coming to an end. Obviously, almost halved from its previous deal. We need more of that to be able to increase the salary caps, to be able to pay players more, to keep them in Super League, to keep our superstars, not letting them go to the NRL, because that's the biggest threat. The biggest threat is Perth Bears. I think you think Toby Sexton, Harry Newman, Jade McDonnell. There's a couple more there. Alesky. we're going to lose them if we don't do something about it. And with PNG coming in, that's just Perth Bears. Then PNG coming in 2028, we're going to lose them. So yeah, there's so much going on in rugby league at the minute, and so much to be discussed about this TV deal, the NRL, and everything else that comes with it.
Well, we shall see how that one unfolds as well over the course of the coming weeks and months ahead. Zach, look, very quickly, just want to touch on, I introduced you there as a 3-time Super League winner, 4-time Challenge Cup winner, 2012 World Club Challenge winner, 2015 Man of Steel. You've had some career, mate, haven't you? And, I suppose when you hear that back, first of all, how does it make you feel?
Still not real. I think it's something when I retire, I'll sit back and be like, wow, because I'm just normal Zach to me. Some of the young lads at Hull take me out me a bit, but they'll say like, oh, Man of Steel or ex-Man of Steel. And I'm like, nah, like brush it off. I don't like it, to be honest. It's mental. The teams that I've played at and the success that I've had is outstanding, and I'm really, really proud of it. But it's something that I'll probably have a good old look at it when I'm finished.
And every team you've gone to, Zach, has got to a final, or you've certainly, obviously, look, there's another 16 players that'll take to the field with you at all those clubs, but there's no doubt about it, mate. The competitor you are, you've certainly enhanced pretty much every club that you've been to, right? I mean, none more so than, the Lee Leopards when you took them to the first Challenge Cup final. What was that like for you?
Amazing. So I signed at Lee, and it was a club that just got promoted. It was like everyone was like, "What are you doing? Why are you going to Lee?" Like, I think they thought it was a bit of a step down in my career, kind of way. I'm like, "Oh no, there's something here." I like Derek. I love Derek. He's bonkers, but I really do like him. And just from meeting him, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have a dig. I'm gonna follow you. And then he was telling me the players at the sign. I was like Ricky Latelli. I turned up on the day that I signed. I didn't even know they signed Ricky. He went, "Oh, just go in there, mate." So I opened the door and Ricky was there. I went, "Have you signed as well?" Good team, this. So on paper I was like, it's a good team, and Lammy, and I played with Clubby, who was assistant, and I was like, yeah, well, there could be something done here. And then it just unfolded. We just had a real good laugh. It was Lee Leopard, so it got branded from Centurions, so that was all noise, and it was just a mad year, mate. And I speak to Gaz O'Brien the other day, funny enough, and he was saying, "I'll miss you, mate." It's like, "Oh, I'll miss you, pal." It's just the times that those times that
special, right?
Mate, they're amazing. And little old Lee, to do that in the Challenge Cup, it's fantastic. And that's another one where I'm really emotional about it, because I love my time at Lee, but that'll be another one when I retire. I'll probably look back and be like, wow, like, but that shouldn't have been done. But
I've no doubt in years to come that the club will put something on for a 10-year memory of it or whatever, and it's got to be special knowing that you can walk back into that part of the world and people are full of admiration for you.
Well, we played them like in the Challenge Cup, and my mum and stepdad took my kids upstairs where the League players go, and I wouldn't normally do this in away teams, because you get eyeballed and probably hissed it and stuff, but they were all lovely. "Hi, is that you all right? Come back to the club." I'm like, well, I'm not going to hammer, but thank you. And I had pictures and stuff, and my kids were running around with all the sponsors that were there before, and it's a lovely club. It really is. It's a really family orientated club, and so just being there then a couple of weeks ago were really nice. And then they said like, they said to my parents, "Look, let us know next time you can come sit in a box and stuff." So stuff like that means a lot. So it's give and take, but it's really nice feeling.
Zach, you mentioned there you'll reflect maybe when you retire, but I'm sure I've read on record that you want to go to, you hit 500 games. I think you said you turn 40.
He's chasing down Paul Sykes, isn't he?
I don't think I'll get Paul Sykes' record, but look, if my body's all right, I'll keep playing, because I've had this conversation loads of times, and some lads like laugh at me, but if I had to retire, say, end of this year, say I were retiring, I'd like to go into coaching after rugby, but we could talk about that a bit. But I would play rugby anyway. I'd play on a Saturday for Featherstone Lions, or my cousin plays at Pontefract Rugby Union, and I know for a fact I'll go play there. So it's like, well,
wow.
So I will do that. I probably will do that. I know you. It's mad, but I love playing rugby. I love the camaraderie. I love probably just getting psyched up again for a game. The nervous sweats. I'll have that till the day I die. So I'm like, if I don't play professionally, and if I'm rubbish, then obviously I won't. But I will still play amateur. So
I'm part of a community club.
Oh,
We
yeah.
could do with a few players,
Well,
so
have you got
I'll
some
have
money?
it here. Then.
It comes with a side.
I didn't say it for free. I didn't say it for free, but yeah, I just love it.
Look, Zach, we've mentioned there obviously what you've already won, you know, the clubs that you've played at, of course, the Rhino, Warriors, Lee, Hull, Cass. But you also, you know, you talked about being a Lee Leopard, but there was a time when you were a Penrith Panther.
Yeah.
Some people forget that, don't they?
Yeah, I forget it sometimes, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, what was that like, heading out there and...
It was a bold decision. It was something that I've spoke to Leeds about for a number of years, that I want to go to the NRL at some point. And Leeds were very good at the 4 or 5 year deals. Every 2 years when you were into it and you were having a good year, they'd sign you straight away. And at the time, you're like, 5 year deal at Leeds, brilliant. Then another year, you're getting a bit better. You think, oh, this is good. And then I got Man City in 2015, and I was just like, right, this isn't really a recollection of what I should be on. I should be on a bit more. So I went in.
Uncle Gary's.
He's got the famous book, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And he opened it up, and he's, and then as soon as I said, like, Gary, I'm not really bothered, he went, oh, right, put that to the side, put his glasses off. I was like, right, here we go. And it came up in 2016 where there was still a loan deal. I could swap with that James Seguiaro, and I was like, I still want to go. I haven't been telling any pork pies I want to go. So like, I think in their mind it was like, you go, get out your system, come back. That's what it might have been. Anyway, I loved it. I really enjoyed my time. Funny enough, Wonga Blake, who plays at Bradford now, I signed, and then it was like 3 week later I ended up going. In the 3 weeks that it was getting messed about, he had like the best games ever, and he was like the third centre coming through. Anyway, I got there, and Griffin, who was the coach, he was like, Zach, I can't really take him out of the team. He's been scoring 3 tries every game. I was like, no worries, I'm happy just to be here. I'll put you on bench. So I did like a few bench roles. I played fullback 2-3 games. Now coming on for 20-minute cameos, it was. But I was just enjoying my time. Yeah. It was NRL. I've always wanted to do it when I was a kid. My mates all loved it. My family came over for a couple of weeks as well. So and at that time, I didn't realise, you know, I was in the gym with Nathan Clear. I was doing stuff with the lads who wasn't quite getting into the first team at that time. And then 2 years later, I leave. The whole generation pops up, and they're going to the best club in the world. So it's a mad story, and I don't want to say like, oh, I trained with Nathan Clear in the gym, but I actually did. You know what I mean?
So you're responsible for the development of the Penrith Panthers.
Well, I might have got him to put another 10 kg on his bench. I don't know if that helped him in his career, but yeah. So like I say, I had 3 or 4 months there, mate. I played about 16 games. Loved my time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just all about like my career's been about just enjoying it, and I've never been someone to be. I respect the people who's at one club for 10 years. I really, really do. But for me, I think you've got one life, and if you've got a chance to visit different clubs at different cultures, different coaches, different ideas. So I'm sat here today. I've been coached by the top coaches. I've been at the best clubs. I know what's good and what's bad. So for me, hopefully, I want to go into coaching after retire. I've got an army of a load of tools in my back pocket to pick from. So I'm really excited with what I've done.
Yeah, just on the coaching then, you say, so you'll be able to pick off so many coaches that you've been a part of. It's something that you're clearly quite passionate about.
Yeah, I am, and it's weird because as I'm getting older, I'm the coaching head's coming more than the players' heads now. Right. So I can see stuff happening, and I'm like, oh, I won't do that, or I do that. Or like now I watch games on a Friday night, and I'm like coaching it in my head. I'm watching it in a different way. So yeah, so like anything that goes on in rugby, I'm like, oh, what would I do differently there? Would I take them out for a social, or would I grill? And I'm already thinking about that now. So I know I'm getting mentally prepared for it, if that makes sense.
So we've seen the likes of Jake Connor, Scott Taylor, who have been coaching grassroots clubs, and then, I'm assuming under Jake Connor that he would like to eventually transition that into a semi-pro professional environment. Is there any appetite for you to get involved in any sort of coaching at that level, or how would you see it? Would you want to stay at the elite level straight away, be assistant, or what's your plan with that?
Yeah, I've not sat down and really planned it out, but I think I'd love to stay in and around the elite club level. I've done a bit of coaching like a few years ago, with the amateur game. But yeah, I'd love to stay around like in in and around the club, maybe reserves. But I do feel like I'm quite good. I could just be an assistant coach or being in and around that in that area, that little tripod that goes on there. My attack or defence is, my knowledge is pretty good, I reckon. So not straight to an head coach, but definitely in the capacity of assistant coach for sure, yeah.
Well, look, Zak, it's been great to have you on, and it's been great to hear about your own career as well as the wider issues and conversations that we've had in the game. Don't forget, guys, if you have anything that you'd like to comment on, again, our team love delving into all those comments, so keep them coming. Swipe left in that comment section and hit that hype button so you can get more and more shows just like we have here at Back 10 from the All Out Studio. Well, that's it. That's it for another week. My thanks to Josh and Zak. Thanks to you guys at home for listening, watching, wherever you are. Have a great week ahead, and we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.